Hey everybody, in this video we are on section 4, quadratic equations, and we are focusing on examples solving a quadratic equation. Again, equations have equal signs. Solving a quadratic equation using what we call the square root property. Quadratic equations have a largest power on a polynomial expression, right? The largest power is 2. And here I'm going to be able to use square root property in these 4 examples. Basically, in order to use the square root property, you cannot have like a linear term when you're set up in one of the situations you see in A or B. You can't have a linear term like that, or you would have to have an entire quantity squared so that basically we're set up to take the square root of both sides. So that's exactly what we're going to do. This is not a full explanation as to what we're doing, why we're doing, why it works. It's more like this is how you solve this type of problem using this type of technique. So if I take the square root of both sides, square root of x squared, those are inverse operations. And then I take the square root of the other side, 17. You need to remember that when you are the person responsible for putting the square root onto your equation, onto one side of your equation, you are responsible for plus minus. If the square root's already there, it is what it is. But if you are putting it there, you need to assume you're checking for every possibility, so you have to put plus minus. Square and square root inverses, we're gone with that, and we're left with x equals both, positive and negative square root of 17, which is 4 point something, right? You do not take the square root in the calculator and give a decimal if you could avoid it. This is the exact answer. If you want an approximate answer, you would use a calculator and round. That's it. Next. I'm going to do the same thing, okay? We're going to take the square root on each side. X on the left, plus minus, don't forget, square root of negative 25. Now, in the last section, we went over what to do when we have the square root of a negative, and that right there is to use the imaginary unit I. X equals plus minus I. All right, let's use a little color code in here too. So that became that. And this guy right here, right? The 25, the square root of 25 works out nicely, and that is 5. So we have two imaginary answers, positive 5i and negative 5i. And that is the end of that example. Next up, in this next one, we are going to be going ahead and doing the same thing, taking the square root of both sides. You have to, okay, I got to point something out though. If this 25 was on the other side, right? If you had x squared plus 25 equals 0, you cannot take the square root like that, okay? It has to be the whole quantity squared, so you have to get whatever's being squared alone first, okay? You can't have sums and differences unless they're inside a parenthesis like you see in example C, okay? That means we're left with x minus 4 equals positive, negative, plus minus square root of 12. X equals, now let's do a little at a time here. When it comes to the square root of 12, excuse me, we're going to simplify that. And that's going to be 4 and 3, and the square root of 4 is 2, right? So plus minus 2 root 3, but I'm going to add that 4 to the other side. And that right there is the end of that example. You could write it like that. Sorry, I'm coughing again. Or like this. They're the same answer. All right. So that's the end of this. Check the playlist on the screen for more about quadratic equations or more on this chapter. Thumbs up, thumbs down, questions, comment, concerned. I need to go get a drink of water. That's it for now. Adios.